This program is brought to you by the following proud sponsors: the National Electrical Contractors Association, Southern Sierras Chapter, providing power to America for over 100 years, and by the Inland Empire Labor Management Cooperation Committee, bringing labor and management together to help build this region's future, and by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Locals 440 and 477, supplying the skilled workforce lighting the way to America's future.
Hello and welcome to SS NECA TV. I'm your host, Dwight Cromie. Our topic today is the importance of having an exit plan for you and your business. Our guest speaker is Brian Connors, a certified financial planner and investment advisor representative with NPB Financial Group, LLC, a broker-dealer. Brian has over 30 years experience advising high net worth individuals and successful business owners and business executives on the importance of financial, tax, and investment matters having a significant financial impact on their personal and business net worth. Acting as their personal CFO, Brian has advised on broad-ranging financial planning areas including financial management, retirement planning, tax planning, estate planning, life insurance, and more. For his business clients, Brian has advised business owners and executives on financial management, 401ks, profit sharing, pension plans, ESOPs, and exit plan strategies. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, thanks, Dwight. Glad to be here.
Well, today's topic is basically exit planning or preparing your business for sale, and it's something that every business owner should be thinking about, correct?
Oh, I think so. We have something like 7 million small businesses that are, majority of the business owners, I think, are over 50 at this point. And so there's this huge wave of potential retiree business owners that are going to have to make that transition at some point. And it's either going to be health, it's going to be a business circumstance, or whatever that is. And many of them, they could do it successfully if they only prepare a little bit. So unfortunately, many are unprepared right now, but I think they can get there with just taking a few steps towards just kind of looking at their business a little differently, so that they hopefully have some options as to when and to whom and how much money they want to have when they retire. So
now it's not something a business owner decides, hey, I'm ready to retire, I want to sell my business, and you sell it next day or next week or in a few months. It's something you really want to prepare for over maybe a 5-year or more period. It's not something you just decide to do the next day, correct?
No, that is right on, and that's accurate. I think that's the biggest challenge for most business owners, that their time horizon for when they think they're going to retire and when they're going to be ready to transition and sell their business are right now inconsistent. And as such, when that time does come, they'll probably either not be able to sell it, maybe that's the worst side of the outcomes, but also that they're going to find that the transferable value will be a lot less than they'd hoped for. And so, I think it's important to get some education on it, to know kind of what it takes to basically sell a business. I think there's a learning experience in terms of what the theory is and what the practicalities of it are. But time is on your side if you plan well enough in advance to make those decisions and also to get independent perspective. And I think that's another part of this, that many business owners are operating day to day like we all do, trying to grow our business and have all the myriad of problems that we're constantly thinking about every day about what needs to be done just today, that they lose sight of what was the reason I got into business and what is the purpose, and most importantly, is there an end game? Because at the end of the day, there is an end game whether we want it or not. And so it's important to realize that if we don't plan and if we don't put some things in place, the time will come that we have to leave the business. And there's something like 16% of business owners that close the doors and don't receive anything at all for all the work they've done for their 30 plus years of working in their business in some cases. So the thinking is that, yes, if you can start early enough and start thinking about this, and it's a strategic thing. I think what I've learned from this experience, having gone through it myself, is that the moment you start to look at your business from the standpoint of what would this business do, or what would it look like without me, and how would it go on forward without me, and what would someone want to pay for this business today, you can start to transition to that. What are the problems that are going to be an issue if someone came in to look at my business today, and what would they pay for that? And unfortunately, it's a little bit unnerving about, how little that might be, because, there really isn't that much that's transferable. At least they haven't built enough brand or other value. Maybe it's customer lists, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's some, intellectual property or intellectual capital expertise that might be valuable to someone. And unfortunately, they have not spent enough time doing that. And so they just all made it all about them. And we know one thing: when it's just all about you, when you leave, there really is no business there. So I talk about this with a lot of, in my case, a lot of independent professionals, because I think that's a lot of where many of the small businesses owners are today. They're in manufacturing and these other industries, but there's a large group of people that are marketers, they're logistics people, they're in different kinds of professional services. And they're wondering, who would buy this? How could I sell this? And that's a big question. And I don't think anybody has the single answer to that. But I think that, you might do a number of things that maybe there is value. And one is, I was talking with a colleague that has a professional services business in project management. And maybe one of the things is just to say, hey, I'm going to team up with someone. They have some skills that I don't. They have customers that I don't. So 1 + 1 equals 4 instead of 2. And now they can both work together on certain things to get more outcomes that give a bigger value proposition to someone else, both increasing their cash flow. Maybe they can't sell their business, but maybe it has no transferable value. But during the years that they're working now, it has a higher return on investment, more cash flow, higher growth rate, which they can use that money then to invest in non-business assets to produce a retirement income if that's what they decide they want to do. So it's all about just thinking about the problem. And I think, sometimes, I guess, being a business owner myself, is that we operate in just our own little world of us. And, no one really understands our business, and we don't frankly have the time to talk about it. And I think if we could find some competent business people that have either gone through the process, learn from it, maybe some professionals in the area of business management or CPAs or lawyers that have done successful business transitions, there's some insights. And I think, as a business owner, we talk about the theory, but we also talk about the practicality of getting things done. And if we can just hopefully learn from some others that have done this and take a little time out to learn, just, some of the things that we can do. Maybe our business in the current form is not sellable, but that doesn't mean there isn't other ways around that could create some additional value for us in our retirement and on the eventual successful transition of our business.
Well, a lot of our viewers our main viewers are contractors and manufacturers, but again, a lot of small businesses. And your presentation today is going to be more about the theory, because obviously every business is different. So you can't put everything in one can or one way of looking at it. So your presentation will be about theory today. So we're going to go ahead and let Brian present to you how to prepare your business for sale and get the money that you want out of your business. Brian?
Thank you, Dwight. So let's begin. So how do you sell your business when you want and for the money you need? So you are a successful business owner, used to controlling your own destiny. but for numerous potential reasons, whether it is a desire to spend more quality time with your family, maybe a recent health event, or changing business circumstances, the necessity to take less of a role in the day-to-day management of your business is increasingly important to you. If you are having that internal conversation, we have some thoughts and ideas to share with you that you can have a significant impact both on you personally and financially on your transition to the post-business ownership phase of your life. Hi, I'm Brian Connors, a CFP with over 30 years of wealth management experience, and over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to share with you some important facts and concepts for you to consider that can help you make a successful business transition and hopefully avoid the pitfalls that may sabotage your retirement plan dream. So let's begin with what is the most biggest elephant in the room problem for business owners looking to exit their business. What is the primary reason business owners are unable to exit their business? Well, the primary reason business owners are unable to exit their business under their terms and amount that they desire is because they failed to set transition goals early enough. Seems simple enough, doesn't it? Let's look at some of the other statistics, startling statistics about business owners. Approximately 20% of small business owners are on the market for sale at any one time. Only about 20 to 25% of these businesses will actually sell without the help of an experienced exit advisor. At any given time, 40% of U.S. businesses are facing a transfer of ownership issue. 47% of the middle market business owners, 55 years and older, are interested in selling their business within 3 years, and yet over 90% of business owners have not initiated the planning process. 24% of owners say they planned their business exits. Another 18% indicated that their exits would be opportunistic, meaning that their plan was to wait for a third-party offer. There are approximately 9.2 million owners of the roughly 7 million U.S. small businesses, and over half, 4.6 million owners, are at least 50 years old. About 1/3 of affluent owners plan to sell it to a third party. Another 1/3 of affluent owners plan to sell to family members. About 18% plan to sell to employees, and 16% plan just to close their doors. So let's talk about these harsh realities for a moment. A wise and famous axiom many of us have heard before is to begin with the end in mind. Sadly, this axiom is all too often ignored as the pressure to perform the myriad daily pressing tasks of the moment, for example, making payroll, increasing sales, never-ending daily business operational management decisions, etc., which of course take precedence over long-term planning. Yet, according to the Business Enterprise Institute, leaving your business and transferring ownership is likely the most significant financial transaction of your life. Nothing you are doing in or out of your business has greater financial and emotional consequences, and nothing less than the future quality of life depends upon how well you manage the process. As stated earlier, most entrepreneurial owners are woefully unprepared to exit their business. As a consequence of poor or no preparation, these owners cannot leave when they want, with the money they need, and/or to the person they choose. So how should we be thinking about our business? Number one, why do we work so hard, spend long hours, take significant business risks in the first place? What's the purpose? What's the end game? After all, a business is just an entity which will continue or not exist when we're no longer involved. Fortunately, you can decide or not whether this will happen. The default is it will not continue for lack of planning. So what are the challenges business owners will face in trying to stage an exit? You face a number of formidable challenges in your quest to leave your business on your terms. Some of these challenges may be apparent to you, many likely are not. Here are several you may want to have not anticipated. Number one, your own misperceptions. Typically, owners and their businesses are far less prepared for a successful exit than the owners believe. The consequence of this misperception is complacency and inaction. The consequences of seeing through these misperceptions is a focus on accelerating growth in business value and cash flow by beginning to implement your exit strategy now before either burnout or boredom prevents you from taking the necessary actions. Number 2, a lack of resources. Who or where can owners turn to for help? Few advisors have pursued the additional training necessary to help you develop a plan to successfully execute an exit strategy. Number 3, adequate time. I can almost guarantee that it will take far longer to prepare and implement your successful exit strategy than you expect. Only a few businesses, about 200,000 out of 7 million, are capable of being transferred today in a manner that achieves the owner's goals and objectives. So, with this in mind, what are the benefits of exit planning? Like the challenges you'll face in creating an exit, some of the benefits of exit planning are obvious and some are less so. The 3 most obvious benefits are: number 1, leaving behind the successor owner you've chosen on the date you've picked. Number 2. Number 3, with enough money in your bank account to satisfy your financial needs and wants for the rest of your life. What are some of the other benefits of exit planning? Clearing the misperceptions and dispelling misperceptions about what it takes to exit successfully. Exit planning clears the path to an exit that achieves all of your goals and aspirations. In addition to the date, the successor, and the amount of cash you want, many and probably most owners set additional goals for themselves and for their businesses. These value-based goals may include maintaining your legacy, or the culture you've created with the business, or continuing to benefit the community, and many more. Keeping owners in control is another benefit. The exit plan designs that I'll describe keep you in control of your business and, of course, of your exit until you choose and achieve all of your goals you have for yourself, your family, and your business. A nice benefit is a time to enjoy the ride. While it is likely to take several years to create a business that you can transfer in a way that achieves your goals, in doing so, it reduces the time you'll spend working in your business. Good exit plans free up the demands on your time, transform the time you spend in the business in time to spend doing only things you want to do, not have to do. So, with those thoughts in mind, what do I want? What do I have? And what are the roadblocks? So what is the roadmap to a good exit plan? Well, number 1 is goals. Setting a goal is not the main thing. It's deciding how you will go about achieving it and staying with that plan, was once said by Tom Landry. The first step in creating a future is to envision it. Your future is defined by the goals you set related to your financial needs and wants, the successor owner, and the departure date. Remember those 3. It is also likely defined further by your value-based goals such as family harmony, business legacy, and the well-being of your community and favorite charities. What are some of the value-based goals? As we said previously, the 3 universal exit goals that everybody has in common are the departure date, the successor choice, and the desired post-exit income are all common to all owners. The interesting paradox of defining value-based goals are the following. As you direct your effort to building business value on the road to your successful exit, you will spend less, not more time in the office. Isn't that interesting? That is the promise of exit planning, and if done properly, it will deliver it. So how do we begin? The asset gap assessment. The difference between what you have today and the resources you'll need to achieve your goals is called the gap. So you started to establish your exit goals. Achieving these goals requires accurate information regarding your personal and business resources and your personal financial needs. Using accurate information would seem an easy hurdle to surmount, but it is not, as I'll explain. You assess your ability to achieve your exit goals, principally financial security, by addressing these questions. Number 1, is the financial security goal you set accurate or is it unrealistically low? Have you accurately quantified the resources, both business and personal, currently available to attain your financial security goal? Is there a shortfall or an asset gap between the resources you have and those that you'll need to achieve your financial security goal? So the functions of a gap analysis are to accurately establish both your starting and end points, and therefore enable you and your advisors to chart a path between the two. To provide the motivation you may need to undertake the planning necessary to go from where you are today to where you want to be when you exit your company. So some of the benefits of a gap analysis are, while your gap analysis serves two critical functions, establishing the start and the end points of your journey and providing the motivation you may need to plan your route between those 2 points, it also has several important benefits. Number 1, determine the size of the gap that you must fill before you exit successfully allows you, your management team, and your advisors to efficiently develop and execute strategies to close it. Number 2, learning that there is likely a greater financial shortfall than you might anticipate likely motivates you to increase business value and cash flow sooner and more forcefully than does a remaining blissfully unaware of the work you need to do. Number 3, conversely, learning that there is little or no gap between where you are and where you want to be enables you to turn your attention to important exit planning endeavors, perhaps deciding maybe you want a vacation home on a beach or in the mountains. Number 4, the gap analysis gives you a new and more realistic understanding of how much time and capital effort it will take to get from where you are to where you want and need to be. So let's talk about the misperception spell, which prevents people from achieving their retirement and exit strategy goals. The most common owner misperceptions are the following. Number 1, the amount of income owners will need after they exit. The estimates of their life expectancy and that of their spouses. The rate of return owners expect on invested assets. I see this a lot. The value owners assign to their companies. This is a biggie. The growth rate that they predict for the business value and cash flow. Also another important point. 6, the net proceeds owners expect from the sale of their companies. All important. One of the greatest challenges to owners in the exit planning process is realizing that their assumptions put them under the thrall of what we call the misperception spell. Some examples of this are, number 1, what is the transferable value? Transferable value creates the ability to transfer your ownership interest in exchange for money. It is the value of the company without your involvement, not with your involvement. Number 2, what is a sustainable rate of growth? As a benchmark, consider an annual growth rate in revenue and earnings of 5.5%. Believe it or not, most companies expect to attain that level or better. At least that's what's called for in their business strategic plans. But a Bain & Company study of more than 2,000 companies indicates that only 1 in 10 actually achieves that relatively modest goal over a 10-year period while earning its cost of capital, which could be, cost of capital could be 5 or 10% alone. In other words, nearly 90% of companies fail to achieve even this modest growth objective. So we highly recommend that owners take the first step to determine the size of their gap. That is, begin the process of writing a formal financial plan to determine what their assets will be, how much income their non-business assets will provide. This financial plan will incorporate many anticipated large expenses such as vacation home. It will also include analysis of cash reserves, risk and debt management, and estate planning issues. Second, we encourage owners to have a business evaluation created that will provide a fairly accurate estimate of their business, usually within, say, 10% of the value. The cost of this analysis is far less than a formal business appraisal and gives the owner just a good yardstick to use during the planning process. The success of your exit and your ability to leave on your terms and timetable begins with accurately assessing your available resources, business value, future cash flow, and income from your non-business assets. So next, let's talk about another important point that we need to consider in the exit of our business. Changing your role and changing your business. Accelerating cash flow and business growth using what we call next level principles. As a new venture develops and grows, the roles and relationships of the original entrepreneurs inexorably change. If the founders refuse to accept this, they will stunt the business and may even destroy it. But even among the founders who can accept that they themselves need to do something, few know how to tackle changing their own roles and relationships. Well said by Peter Drucker. The largest, most entrenched, and hardest to address roadblock to growth, believe it or not, is you, the owner. Sustained and rapid growth is stymied by owners' reluctance, refusal, or inability caused by a failure to understand the importance of evolving, to change their role and relationship to their business. As a new venture develops and grows, the roles and relationships of the original entrepreneurs inexorably change. If the founders refuse to accept this, they will stunt the business and maybe even destroy it. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change, was once said by Darwin. So, the first point does not occur in a prescribed amount of time. Instead, it occurs when continued growth requires an owner to decide whether or not to delegate management responsibility. Peter Drucker put it this way: long before the time has come at which management by one person no longer works and becomes mismanagement, that one person also has to start learning to work with colleagues, has to learn to trust people, yet also has to hold them accountable. The founder has to learn to become a leader of a team rather than a star with helpers. The difference between a business that cannot be sold, that cannot be successfully transitioned while achieving the owner's goals and aspirations, and a business that becomes an industry player results from the owners to take action to change their role and relationship to their business at each inflection point. So changing your role doesn't mean that you start or you continue doing tasks you'd rather not do. Rather, changing your role requires you identify and do what's best for the company by using your strengths. So what are the benefits of the evolved owner from hub to spoke? Number one, increased free time, believe it or not. Your most important task as a leader is to teach people how to think and ask the right questions so that the world does not go to hell if you take a day off. Increased transferable value of your business, number two. Number three, more exit options. You can keep your company or transfer it at any one of several possible successors. Number four, you can achieve other goals. You can realize your value-based goals for the business and for your life apart from the business. Number five, you can strengthen the organization as you allow others to assume greater responsibilities, their skills improve and multiply. So let's talk about what we could do to grow the value of our business. How do we accelerate the growth and value of our business? The most significant factor that impacts your ability to leave your company successfully or unsuccessfully is creating a company with what we call transferable value. So what is transferable value? Transferable value is what your business is worth to someone else without you. Value drivers viewed from a buyer perspective, strong value drivers are what make a company a desirable acquisition. When they are present and in functioning well, buyers will pay top dollar for a company because value drivers contribute to increased cash flow. A company with strong value drivers can demand and receive a higher multiple on the same amount of EBITDA than can a company with average value drivers. As we go through the list of value drivers, remember that it is not exhaustive. Depending upon your company, what your company does, it may have other value drivers that create increased transferable value. So what are the primary value drivers? Primary value drivers are next level management, number one. Number two, operating systems demonstrated to increase sustainability of cash flows, very important. Number three, a diversified customer base. Number four, a proven growth strategy. Number five, recurring revenue that is sustainable and resistant to commoditization. Number six, good and improving cash flow. Number seven, demonstrated scalability. Number eight, having a competitive advantage. Number nine, financial foresight and controls. For reasons I will explain, next level management is the most important value driver. The rest are in the order that business advisors have chosen as the most likely to affect the business value. So what are the tasks for owners? There are three tasks. To help your company move forward in developing and retaining next level management, you have three ownership tasks. Task one. The first and most important ownership task is to attract and retain next level management. This may involve training and coaching and existing management to the level needed, adding next level management, and replacing or transferring underperforming management. Task two. Engage management consultants and outside resources to spur growth. Retain consultants to assess, train, and coach existing management. Number three, you must provide the leadership and motivate top management to achieve the goals you described in your growth plan. Providing strong incentives to management is one of the key components private equity firms create for newly acquired companies. Add this component. When designing incentive plans, be mindful of the need to retain management beyond your departure as an active owner. Growing and creating transferable value requires a reassessment of your role in the business, as well as creating value drivers that enhance the transferable aspect of your business value. So let's now transition to talking about the 4 exit paths to transitioning from ownership of your business to someone else. There are 4. A sale to management, a sale to children, a sale to a third party, and a sale to an employee stock ownership plan. Naming your successor owner is a fundamental goal established early in your exit planning process. Understanding the advantages and disadvantages of each path is not enough. You must also determine if the disadvantages of your preferred path can be minimized or eliminated to your satisfaction through proper exit planning. Many business advisors believe owners come to exit planning with an idea of the best exit path. But that idea is often based on misconceptions about the alternative exit paths. So let's discuss about the exit paths and types of preferred paths. Number 1, sale to co-owners or key employees. The most common exit path used by owners who have undertaken comprehensive exit planning is to a co-owner or a key employee. 40% of the owners selected this path. So what are some of the consequences? There are many advantages and disadvantages, but one of the tax consequences that you might keep in mind, because you control the deal structure in selling to a key employee, the design of your exit can be based in significant part on minimizing income tax consequences. We can also transfer our ownership to our children. 25% of exit plans are transfers to children. There are many pros and cons to doing a transfer to a family member. One of the tax consequences in transferring to a family member is using a strategy unique to family transfers. You can minimize and often avoid the income taxes on transfers of ownership to family members. There are many other pros and cons of doing so to a family member to keep in mind. We'll cover them in a later topic. The third is to sale to a third party. For many owners, a sale to a third party is their first choice or backup choice. This exit path was chosen by 29%. Again, many pros and cons of doing that in terms of sale to a third party, but the tax consequences are so. Typically, the proceeds from the sale of your ownership interest can be structured to be subject only to long-term capital gains taxes. However, there is a potential of severe tax consequences if not done properly. For example, unless you take careful action well in advance of the transfer, you may pay a double tax if your company is a C corporation. One tax event at the corporate level and a second tax event at the personal level. The combined tax rate can exceed 50%. The fourth option in selling your business is sale to an employee stock ownership plan. An employee stock ownership plan is many, but simply stated, it is a qualified retirement plan that must invest primarily in the stock of your company. With this exit path, you sell your stock in the business to the ESOP. Just over 1% of the surveyed owners chose ESOPs as a preferred exit path. Some of the tax consequences of using an employee stock ownership plan. If your company is an S corporation, future business income is not taxed if an ESOP owns the company. This frees up the company's available capital to invest to increase its cash flow. If your company is a C corporation, the proceeds from the sale of your stock to the company's ESOP may be entirely tax deferred, a good outcome. Payments by the company to the ESOP used to purchase your stock are tax deductible. If your desired successor is your employees and you want the company to fund that purchase, there are significant tax advantages, so using an ESOP rather than a management buyout is a preferred option. So let's summarize. In summary, knowing who you are is essential to determining what you want when you exit your business. Setting your objectives is the first step in planning your exit strategy, and you should build around the personal values and goals that you hold dearest. In determining what you want from life, you will shape what you want from your business. Maybe you want to cash out by selling to the highest bidder, then retire without looking back. Or perhaps you would like to take less so that you can have more control over your company's long-term direction. After leaving, you may want to transfer from success to a significance by going to work for a nonprofit or becoming a philanthropist. Or perhaps you want to start another business. Start considering your exit and what you will do next now, before you are ready to leave, so that you can transition smoothly from one phase of your life to another. Owners who allow time to plan give themselves the greatest number of exit path options. They also obtain peace of mind, knowing that they've clearly aligned their objectives for their business within their personal goals. Set your exit goals by answering these 3 key questions. Number 1, how much longer do you want to work in the business before retiring or moving on? Number 2, what is your annual after-tax income you want during retirement in today's dollars? So number 3, to whom do you want to transfer the business? Family, a key employee, a co-owner, an outside third party, or maybe an employee stock ownership plan. You may want to set other objectives as well, such as maintaining family harmony, providing for 1 or more employees, transferring wealth to family members, getting maximum value for the business, giving to charity, taking the business to the next level with someone else's money, or living a life of significance. Many owners do not set exit objectives precisely because it is emotionally too wrenching to contemplate separating themselves from a business they have created, nurtured, lived with, suffered with, brought to maturity, in which they have totally immersed themselves. But to transition successfully, you must develop goal clarity, identify process to enhance value drivers, and create a roadmap for the inevitable exit from your business. Consider, for example, how your decisions will impact your employees, customers, family, and other stakeholders, and act in accordance with your personal goals for them to bring about your desired result. That is, if you want a child or perhaps a key employee to ascend to your position, then give them the time and attention they need to succeed. Remember, your objectives direct all subsequent planning efforts and actions. Clarifying your values and goals now will allow you to exit successfully in the future. We hope this exit planning information roadmap has been helpful to you toward starting the exit planning process today. Remember, The most significant factor that impacts your ability to leave your company successfully or unsuccessfully is creating a company with transferable value. And that value does not include you. So start your business exit planning with your end game in mind.
Brian, there is a lot that a business owner really needs to think about prior to exiting his business. And I think one of the things that I walked away with your presentation was business owners, we all talk about this, but very few of us do that, is we need to learn how to not work in our business, but work on our business. So really an exit plan is learning how to work on your business, correct?
Oh, absolutely. You summed it up perfectly, Dwight. It really is about working on your business. It's stepping outside of your business and looking at it. If I was looking at this business to buy this business, what do I see in value? And you know, that's a hard thing to do because as we talked about we're immersed in it. We've nurtured it. We've gone through the ups and downs of a business, and it's personal. And for many, that's part of the degree of success, is that they immersed themselves in this business and put everything they had into it. It represents them. The problem with that, it's really not transferable to someone else if you're not there.
Right.
So, yes. So again, it is back to what you said, working on your business. And you know, it's hard to do as business owners we are. But, you know, having gone through an acquisition myself now, you know, I've kind of thought about it a little differently now. You know, I said, wow, you know, I was able to do that. And, you know, that was not clear to me that I had that ability to do that. And I guess it's a little bit about confidence and everything in life. But it set in my mind the idea that, wow, you know, I had to determine what the value of this business was. And sometimes it really doesn't have to be that complicated. You know, it could be kind of a simple formula. A lot of us think, oh, well, we got all these moving parts, we've got the liabilities, the assets. But particularly if we talk about professional service providers, you know, really it's about the cash flow. It's about what are the revenues and what is the net income and what is the ultimate cash to the owner. And, you know, for those types of businesses, among others that are in that kind of category, they could be including contractors and other people. They have some assets, but really it's about the customer relationships and those things that really matter in terms of their business. It's important to think about it is what can you do today to start doing the what we call the value drivers. And number one is looking at how do I replace myself?
Right.
I mean, if I don't groom and coach and train some of the experts that we know that talk about these topics, how is anybody going to ever be able to assume my role? It's a matter of trust. And, you know, I think there's a feeling like we can do it better than everybody else. They're not going to do it like we are. And, you know, it's interesting. When I took over a business, in my case, the person was extremely competent, maybe more so competent than me in the skills. But they weren't very good at doing the value drivers. They weren't very good about, you know, putting in systems.
Right.
And building a team and building some things about functionality about the business and process. And, you know, if you can improve your processes, if you can do things that systemize your business, that number one is going to increase your cash flow. And so, you know, you think about it, well, maybe my business isn't saleable. I know there's a lot of people that worry about that. But hey, if you think about your business today and systematizing it and putting in management maybe even better than ourselves and grooming new people to take over, you might find, if nothing else, you improved your cash flow, increased your revenues. So that could be money that you could use to invest outside the business to fund your retirement plan. So I agree. In summary, yes, is to work more on your business than in your business. And yet, probably I would think that it's a high number. I'm going to say 90% are working in their business, not on their business.
Well, I think, you know, realistically, for a business owner, whether you're a contractor or a manufacturer, a small business owner, if you start working on your exit plan early, as early as you can, I think from listening to what you said, I can actually increase my business I can increase my free time. And I can see that where it's really, your focus is how can I get my business to run without me there? And if it's running without me there, then it's sellable. But if I have to be there, then it's not necessarily sellable. So the focus, like you said, is finding that key person or personnel that could fill your shoes, or group of individuals, or like you said, figuring out that one of 4 plans on how you want to do it, whether it's key management, a relative, an ESOP, however you want to get out of your business. But the real focus, and I think your goal is, if you can, whether you're, like I said, a manufacturer, a contractor, or a small business owner, get the mindset of saying, I don't want to be here. How can I design my business to run without me so that it's making money when I'm not there? And if you can do that, then your business does have a potential sale value.
Yes, I think you just summarized what transferable value is. And it's a great takeaway, is if you could just simply think about it, what do I do to structure my business that it operates without me being there? And if you could just think about that and what that means, then you're going to find yourself going back to what are those value drivers that are going to create transferable value. And it's interesting you talk about it this way, because once you can separate yourself from the how-tos and the daily tasks, which, again, is very challenging and difficult, now you're looking at it from the outside and you're going, what are those value drivers? We seem to be doing pretty well doing this. I can focus more on strategic planning. I can think more about on maybe there's a part of my business that I didn't really think about was, had the real growth drivers. And then maybe I can spend some time talking to outside experts and people that can look at my business and say, hey, you can do this, and this will lead to more revenue generation and more cash flow generation by doing this. Or, by the way, there's another company here that is struggling as well. Maybe you can do an acquisition together. But you can't do those things and start those, concepts in action if you're just worried about today I got to come in and I've got to do this, this, and this to make my payroll for the month. And I agree, this is not easy, but the minute you start thinking about it, what I found from my own experience, it does start to free up time. And you start to think about things as to, from day one, what if someone approached me tomorrow and said, I'll buy your business? What do you think it would be worth? And what do you think they really would pay for? And, maybe it isn't a lot to begin with, but over time, if you do the basic steps, you'll find that some opportunities will have been created. One is nothing else. You'll increase your revenues and cash flow by doing things, by bringing in new people, systematizing, and these things we talked about. Number 2 is, hey, we do a pretty good job. We actually do it better than most of our competitors. Maybe one of my competitors might be the person that eventually might be probably able to assume this business, but we have a better process and we have a better structure. We kind of have a better roadmap to how to build a business. And so those things can start to take shape once you can step outside the box. So, it's interesting, as you said, because, I think most of us, maybe at one point in our career, loved what we do and we enjoyed that part of it. And unfortunately, that's a good thing and a bad thing. And if you're thinking about trying to maximize something out of your business when you can't no longer come, if nothing else, because of some kind of circumstance, either health or the business is changing, then you'll have that option to do that versus, oh, I need to sell my business. And usually we know what happens then. It's usually the doors close. So.
I mean, a lot of us are baby boomers, and so as a baby boomer, we need to be thinking about selling our business. But interesting enough, I've got something else from your presentation. Realistically, any business, whether you're nearing retirement or not nearing retirement, a young entrepreneur or someone starting their business, if you use the exit planning concepts right from the get-go, you're so much farther ahead than things. So you really don't. I know personally, I love what I do. I love my business. But if you go into a business with that thought, it kind of stifles you. So you really need to go into running the business of, how can I sell this business?
You're actually right. It's so true. It's again, begin with the end game in mind.
Right, exactly.
And in thinking about, business training, you almost think this should be the first class.
Correct.
It's like thinking about your business as to how do I create value in this, whatever I'm doing with my time, that will have value to someone else. And yet, you're right. Most of the business management courses are geared to how to improve your marketing.
Right.
How to improve your organization. How to improve your communication skills. The how-tos of the business.
Right.
And yet this, thinking about it, we all know people, and we talked about this a little bit, that, they finally realized, wow, I can create a lot of value by maybe just going into business and doing some business management coaching on, here's how you systematize your business, and this is how you're going to increase your cash flow, if nothing else, for you and maybe to sell your business. But in doing so, maybe you start saying, well, I know how to do that. Maybe I can put two businesses together. I can create acquisitions and
right.
build something bigger than just, one business, maybe multiple business. Or I could build a franchise. These are those strategic planning opportunities. We talk about it conceptually, that we talk about strategic planning in our business, but we're really thinking kind of just this. We're not really looking at it like beyond where we are today in terms of just the traditional, like, oh, we're going to grow our business 10%, or we're going to increase our cash flow 10%. We're looking at it differently in terms of how do we structure this thing to operate on its own without me. And I think if you can go into business starting with that mindset, I'm there. And it's amazing how you think about things differently. I mean, just talking about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I said. I mean, and since I've gone through the process, I have it's been awakening to me in a limited way that, I think in the future, more acquisitions are possible. Whether they happen or not depends. But the idea is there that, now I look at my business where I'm going in there every day. How do I put this business in a box?
Right.
Okay? Whatever we deliver, I'm a professional service provider. Whatever we deliver, we're just providing some kind of service, and the most important person in that equation is the customer or the client. So everything we do now is all focused on how do we deliver more value to them. And in doing that, that gives clarity to what do we do in the background that gives more value. And if we can do that well, and we can systematize it so it increases that value proposition, now we've not only improved our cash flow and our revenue potential, in terms of we've got more time to do more, we can take on more business or more clients. But we might be able to look at another business that is not systematized, someone that wants to exit their business, doesn't have a growth plan, really just has a client list, but say, hey, we can give you a more predictable retirement income. Can't guarantee, of course, but we have a process to give you a more predictable future than maybe some others you might be talking to. And so this is where it gets kind of fun, because now you're looking at, I'm not just a service provider, I'm creating a value that has bigger possibilities. And again, it's all about being beyond just you. And so, I think that's kind of the fun side of this. And I think you're right. If you can start with the end game in mind, and when you go into business from day one, or starting tomorrow, because there's so many business owners that may be watching this, saying, tomorrow, I'm going to look at my business when I come in tomorrow with giving myself some time to think of what I can do differently with my business in terms of some of these value drivers. And, I think one of the things that has real big opportunities is increasing operational performance. And that has to do with systems, bringing in some people that can take over certain functions, Those are the things we're talking about, next level management, these type of things. And if we do a good job on that, I think we're going to find we have bigger opportunities we can go after that'll make it more exciting to come to work as opposed to coming to do the daily tasks that we all get immersed in every day. So.
Well, Brian, you really just kind of scratched the surface of exit planning. I would like to invite you to come back and talk about some of the different options of exit planning. But again, today's topic, I think I learned a great deal, and I'm hoping our audience learned a great deal as well. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dwight.
Look forward to having you come back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
This program is brought to you by the following proud sponsors: the National Electrical Contractors Association, Southern Sierras Chapter, providing power to America for over 100 years, and by the Inland Empire Labor Management Cooperation Committee, bringing labor and management together to help build this region's future, and by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Locals 440 and 477, supplying the skilled workforce lighting the way to America's future.